Are you ready to kick off the holiday season? Well, let's start with a nice hearty breakfast. These are my light gingerbread pancakes with cream cheese frosting. They are delicious and a great way to start the day as well as the holidays. So step on into my kitchen because I'm going to show you how to do it coming up next. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today is one of mine, but it's based on my friend Cammie's blueberry Greek yogurt pancakes. And if you haven't seen that video, I will post that up here. Today we are stepping into the Christmas season with gingerbread pancakes. And I am also making a cream cheese syrup to go along with it. I use the quotes because I'm actually just using Greek yogurt. I'm not using my homemade light cream cheese because we're just going to melt it down a little bit, get it liquid so that we can warm it up. So there's no use in using that when we can just use the Greek yogurt in its place. All right, so let me quickly go over the ingredients. I have here a third cup of water. You're gonna need 1/4 to a third cup of water. And that's because once you mix the pancake batter together, you're gonna need to thin it out, but it'll depend how much you need to get the right consistency because it'll depend on the flour and other factors. The time of year can affect how much liquid you'll be needing. So we have 1/4 to 1/3 cup. Here I have a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. I have a 1/4 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt and a 1/4 cup of pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie mix, pumpkin puree. If you don't like pumpkin, you don't use pumpkin, you could of course use applesauce. You could probably even use banana. My fear with banana and even applesauce to some extent is that those flavors will tend to, especially the banana, be more prominent than pumpkin will. Pumpkin kind of sits in the background. And for the gingerbread, I think the earthiness of pumpkin definitely helps to enhance the gingerbread flavor. But if you're not a fan, go with applesauce, unsweetened applesauce, go with a mashed banana, but it's 1/4 cup. We have 1 egg here. 1 tablespoon of brown sugar replacement. I use Swerve, which is a 1-to-1 replacement for sugar. And if you use something that is stronger, like I believe stevia is stronger, you'll have to adjust based on the manufacturer's details of how to adjust for sugar. And 1 teaspoon of baking soda, not baking powder. We have 2 teaspoons of molasses. That's where gingerbread gets a lot of its flavor, is from molasses. And I was able to get away with using 2 teaspoons without affecting the bites or points too badly and still getting that flavor. We have a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of gingerbread spice. Now, if you don't have gingerbread spice, which is not a common ingredient, I do have a mix that I've made on a previous video in one of my Back to Basics where I did a collection of holiday spice blends, and I will card that up here and it will be in the description box down below, the link to that video. Now if you don't feel like making gingerbread spice or buying it, you can replace that with 1/2 teaspoon of ginger, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/8 teaspoon of clove. But that will be in the recipe, so you don't have to worry about writing all that down. And then to enhance that ginger flavor, we have a ½ teaspoon of ginger. Oh, and we have some salt. We're just gonna add a pinch of salt to both of this and to our cream cheese syrup. Because when you make my light homemade cream cheese, and if you have not seen that one, again, I will card that here and it will be in the description box below. You add a little bit of salt to give it more of a cream cheese flavor than just a Greek yogurt flavor. So by adding a little pinch of salt to the syrup, it's going to help enhance that cream cheese notion. So for the syrup, we have 1/2 cup of non-fat Greek yogurt, 1/3 cup of almond milk. So we have 3 teaspoons or 8 grams of the Jell-O cheesecake instant pudding, the sugar-free, obviously. And we went with 8 grams, which is about 3 teaspoons. We have 4 teaspoons of confectioner sugar replacement, and again, I'm using Swerve, but you use what you use. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's all that we're going to need for the cream cheese syrup that we're going to be doing to coat our gingerbread pancakes. Now, you don't have to make the syrup. You can use just maple syrup. You could use whatever toppings you like on your pancakes. But I decided I want something that would go with that gingerbread theme. And so I came up with this little mixture here. And that's what we're actually going to start with. So let me grab my spatula and my whisk. And I have a small saucepan here. I'm just going to put that on to a medium heat. And over here I have some bacon that's going to go along with our pancakes for breakfast, because everything I make I actually am eating that same day. Nothing's going to waste here. I'm not just making things for the camera. So, and I like to pepper my bacon because we like pepper around here. I don't even know if I'm fully in camera here, but okay. So for this, we're basically just going to dump everything in, starting with the almond milk and the Greek yogurt. Now, the reason you want this on medium, even though a lot of times, if you've watched this channel, you know I usually go for medium high, is you don't want the Greek yogurt to kind of break. And I'm going to put in the Jell-O pudding mix, the confectioner sugar, and the vanilla. Then I'm going to switch over to my whisk here to whisk this all together. You just want to whisk it until it becomes a smooth consistency. Now, the reason I did not increase the pudding mix is because it would add bites or points to this. As it is, I had to adjust a couple of things in my recipe builder for healthy, formerly iTrack Bites, which is what I use. And I'm on the Better Balance plan, which is the equivalent to the old WW Blue plan. So I had to adjust the almond milk and make it in the app, because it comes up 0 for 1/3 cup, but I had to make it a 0 bite food. Otherwise, it was adding itself to other ingredients and coming up with 1 bite. You don't have to play around with that. You can take it as 1 bite if you want, but since every ingredient is 0 bites, that is what I'm going for. Okay, so you don't want this to fully set up. You want it to be somewhat smooth and pourable. So you just want to heat this up. So I'm going to turn this off now, because all we wanted was to heat it up. And it's nice and pourable. If it starts to get a little too thick as it cools, I will add a little bit more almond milk. But it's definitely got that cream cheese flavor to it. And that cheesecake really helps, that cheesecake jello. The reason I didn't use all artificial sweetener is because Paul's not a fan of that flavor if it's too strong. So, and I thought the cheesecake instant pudding would enhance that cream cheese notion rather than making it seem just like Greek yogurt. All right, so that is ready. Let me clear up those dishes and I'll be right back to mix up our pancakes. Oh, and I forgot to add in the pinch of salt that I told you about. Nobody caught that? I didn't catch it either, so don't feel bad. Anyways, I'm gonna clean this up. I'll be right back. Okay, so for the pancakes, I'm going to just add the dry ingredients all together just so that we can combine them into a cohesive mixture here. So the flour, the brown sugar, the baking soda, the gingerbread spice, and the ginger. Those are all gonna go in. Set that aside. And especially with the brown sugar, you're gonna wanna break it up a little bit because it's gonna be resistant, but just a quick whisk like this, that's all. And then we're just going to add in everything else right into the bowl here. It's not too fussy. You also wanna make sure with any kind of pancake batter that you don't over mix it, because then your pancakes get tough. I've talked about before how working the flour too much develops gluten, which will make things more bread-like than cake-like. And in a pancake, you definitely don't want it to be like a bread. I'm gonna bring in the molasses. And like I said, molasses is, aside from the spice, the prominent flavor to make it gingerbread. That's one of the biggest flavors you will taste in there. And our egg. Okay, set this stuff aside. And I'm gonna break up the egg. Now I don't wanna whisk here because this is gonna get very clumpy. And this is why we have the water here. If you saw the blueberry pancake mix, the blueberry pancake video, then you'll know that this does get very, very thick. And so you need to thin it out. And again, I forgot to add in the pinch of salt. I don't know what is wrong with me today in salt. Maybe it's my body's way of saying you don't need any. But salt really does enhance the flavor. If you've ever had any sort of food where the salt was missing, it kind of has a bland flavor. Even though you don't necessarily taste the salt itself, it kind of enhances the other flavors. Now you can see that's way too thick for a pancake batter. So we're gonna thin it out with some of the water. Gonna start with about half of what I have there and then just check it. As I said, the amount your flour will absorb depends on the type of flour it is, depends on the weather, depends on the temperature in the kitchen, depends on a lot of factors. So that seems more like a pancake batter. I'm just gonna add maybe a smidge more. I don't want them to run when I put them on the griddle, but I don't want them too thick either. So that looks perfect. So I'm going to clean this stuff up and bring in my griddle, and I'll be right back. Okay, so my griddle is heated up to 350 degrees. If you're not using a griddle and you're doing them on the stove top, what I would do is probably like the more medium side of medium high, if you get what I mean, just slightly over medium. So that way they don't cook too quickly, because you don't want them burning on the outside and being raw in the middle. Now these come together pretty quickly. I'm gonna spray my griddle with cooking spray. Then I have my number 16 cookie scoop. You want to put about a 1/4 cup of the batter on here to make 6 pancakes. I'm gonna go on just under to make sure that I do have enough batter, and then I can spread it out and distribute anything that remains afterward. And this will serve, I have it listed as serving like 2 to 3 people. I always do it as 2, but if you just wanted 2 pancakes each, you could get away with 3 people. Now these are gonna sit here for about 3 minutes until it starts to look dry around the edge, and you might see some air bubbles starting to come up. So let me give those 3 minutes and I will be right back. Okay, so you can see that the edges of the pancakes are looking dry. I'm gonna flip them. I usually try to start where I started pouring them. And just flip these right over. Now, if gingerbread is not your thing, I do have an eggnog version that comes with an eggnog syrup that will be coming up a little bit further along in the month. But now that I flipped them, I'm gonna let them sit for about 2 minutes. I have my oven warmed. What I did was I turned it on to its lowest setting, which is about 180 for my oven. Let it sit for a little while to get warm and then turned it off. I'm going to put these on a cooling rack on a sheet pan and set them in the oven. Now, if you're doing this on the stovetop and you can't cook them all at once, obviously in one skillet, this is a great way of making sure that they stay warm while you're cooking the other ones. Or if you're upping the recipe to make for a bigger crowd, this is definitely the way to keep them warm while you're working on making the others. So that way they stay warm in the oven, but they don't overcook. So it's been 2 minutes. You can see that nicely colored on that side. So I'm going to remove these to our pan. And I am going to set up a plate for myself so you can see what it looks like. But I'm going to get rid of my griddle first and get a few things out of my way. The syrup is nicely smooth and just a little too thick for me. So I'm going to just add in a smidge of almond milk. Just a little splash. Just to thin it out slightly, make it a little more pourable. But because of the instant pudding, it definitely will be a little thick, but that looks a little bit better, a little smoother, a little more pourable. Okay, so I have my pancakes plated. Just gonna spoon over some of our cream cheese syrup and try to make it look as pretty as possible. Now, as I said, you don't have to make this syrup. You could just do maple syrup. You could do whipped cream, whatever you like to have on your pancakes. So there you have my light gingerbread pancakes with cream cheese syrup. So as I said, the cream cheese syrup I'm counting is 0, even though if I'd put it in without turning the almond milk 0, it would have come up as 1 bite. I'm not counting it that way because if I'd eaten them all individually, it would have been 0. So I made a slight adjustment. You don't have to do that. You could count the syrup as a bite if you wanted to, or a point if you're on WW. But for the bites or points, each pancake is 1 bite or blue point. If you have 2, they're going to be 3 bites or blue points. And if you have 3, like I'm having here, it's going to be 4 bites or blue points. So I did the calculations for the calories per pancake rather than as a serving, because I did say it serves 2 to 3, and just so that you can decide 1, 2, 3, maybe all 6 pancakes. You can adjust based on how many pancakes you have. So this will be per pancake. So for the calories, each pancake is 68 calories. If you're following macros, the fat would be 1.2 grams, the carbs would be 13 grams, and the protein would be 3.2 grams. And that is, as I said, per pancake. So if you are following calories, you could have all 6 pancakes for about 400 calories. Now for the syrup, as I said, I adjusted it to be 0 bites or blue points. You don't have to do it that way. Just input it into the calculator and decide how you want to do it. But if you're going, and I'm dividing the syrup up for 2 people. So if you're doing calories, this would be 57 calories for half of the syrup. If you're following macros, half of this syrup would be 0.5 grams, the carbs would be 10.1 grams, and the protein would be 5.9 grams because of all that Greek yogurt and some of the almond milk. But this is a delicious way to start off the holiday season, so I hope you're going to try this one. And if you enjoyed this video, I hope you will give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet and you are looking for recipes that can help you on a weight loss journey. Share this video if you think there are others out there that you know that would enjoy this kind of content or this kind of a breakfast. Hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video, and comment down below if gingerbread is one of your go-tos for the holidays. If you think you'll try the cream cheese syrup, you can use this on other things like ice cream and what have you. Doesn't have to be just for pancakes. Also comment down below if you're eager for my eggnog pancakes. Some people are fans of eggnog and some are not. So I'm curious to know how many of you are interested in that one. That will be coming up in probably a couple of weeks. I don't want to have too many pancakes in a row. And you can follow me over on social media. Here is my Instagram handle, as well as 2 Facebook groups that I am a part of. One is mine, Recipes with Roy, and the other one is Finding Our Way, WEIGH, and that one I co-admin with Jennifer Lynn from the Jennifer Lynn channel, as well as Bree Coleman from Balancing Life with Bree. So join us over there. There are lots of great tips, tricks, recipes, and support over there. So I'm pretty sure Paul is anxious for his breakfast, so I'd better go get his out of the oven. So until next time, bye.